Hi guys, today I want to share with you a journal that I made. This is for Kasia Avery from Everything Art. She hosts an advent calendar art journaling challenge each year, and this is my book from last year, and I just love it so much. It's daily prompts, and it is completely free, and it's one of my favorite journals. So I'm going to be doing it again this year, and I figured that I would take you through the process of making the journal I'm going to use. I knew I wanted to use a similar size as last year, and when I measured it, it turned out to be a B6 size, which holds 5 by 7 pages inside, roughly. So since I didn't have a book that was already like that, I took the insides out of a book that was much bigger, and I will be cutting it down to size. Here I am using a template that I have for my leather work, but it's really not necessary. You can go ahead and do the same thing with a ruler. And here's some of my fabric choices. I really didn't know what I wanted to put on it because, this is something that I'm going to be looking at every day that I open it and hopefully long term. So I wanted to make sure that it wasn't too busy, but still had that it could be pretty enough for me. If you've been following me for a little while, you know that I love to use secondhand fabrics, and usually it comes from clothes found in thrift stores and things. So this was a blouse that I decided to use and was just trying to get the position. Here you can see I am not a big fan of measuring and things with fabric, and I'm cutting this one this way because I wanted to save the rest of the pattern for another time. I did end up cutting down a little bit more of that edge just to get it a little less rough, and I decided to put some masking tape over top of it so when the book is finished it doesn't have a rough edge underneath the fabric. It'll be nice and smooth like the rest of the book. I did end up using 3 adhesives for this project. The spray adhesive I used for the fabric on the outside of the book, so it was nice and smooth. And then I used Fabri-Tac all along the inside cover. And as you'll see, I am trimming the edges here, but that's more just so there's not extra fabric lying around. It's not because the edges needed to be neat, because I will be covering the inside with a decorative piece of paper. After I trim down the sides, I would say about 1 to 1.5 inches, I do trim the corners out, and that just makes it easier to fold in so you don't have a lot of extra fabric in your corners. So since I used this spray adhesive on the front, it's nice and flat and it's already adhered. So really I just need to make the inside tight enough for it to look flat on the inside and not so much to keep it taut on the outside. This helps a little bit when you're trying to get something to be really smooth on your cover. I usually start with the sides, and that's just, I think, out of habit more than anything, but that's where I want to make sure that it's the tightest as well. You want to make sure that you are getting some glue in the spine as well. And when you go ahead and fold it over, here's out of habit again, I do that side first and the top and bottom. But I want to make sure that inside the spine, it is pushed in where there's a natural crease in that spine that we already have there. So you just kind of want to fold it into the shape that it would take naturally if this had been the cover for the book. I cut out a little bit of a seam that would have just been a little bit more bulky. And you can see here where the glue is through the fabric. And that's the main reason I didn't want to use it on the front cover. So I'm trying to figure out the lining, the paper that's going to go inside of my hardcover book. There are so many options that you can do here, but I like to keep it somewhat simple, nothing with a lot of words, because if I do want words, I want to choose them and make them my own as embellishments. So here I'm just trying to figure out how many flowers are too many flowers, and how much I might need. So I did decide to go ahead and cover the spine with this paper as well. The reason being, one, there wasn't enough for both the front and the back, and two, this particular spine, I didn't really like how it looked. I did use the the spray adhesive on the paper to get it on the inside. And this is the one space where I try to be really careful and line it up, because this is the inside of the book and it's covering up the pieces that you don't want to see. So you want to make sure that you're doing that. And also, as I go into the spine, you'll see that I really try to crease it into where those crevices were. So I go ahead and fold it over right where that spine is, so it looks the same on the inside and on the outside. You can kind of see that I really am using all my weight to make sure that those creases are there, because I don't want that paper bubbling in the spine after I've been using the journal for a little while. And I was really trying to figure out how to cover up that red splotch. Um, that was some Tim Holtz torn wallpaper, cardstock. This is, I believe, Webster's Pages, some scrapbook paper from them. And I really couldn't find anything. I tried some tea-dyed music paper, as you saw. This would have been a pocket. It has kind of a vellum finish on the top. But what I ended up really liking was this polka dot kind of aqua piece of paper. And I like that it was a little bit graphic without being too crazy. And that this is a color that I am sure I will be using in my journals, since this color can be found pretty much in a lot of my projects. I did decide to leave it as a pocket. So in order to do that, I only put glue around 3 edges of it. And this is where I'm using that craft glue. Of course, you can use Aleene's, but I do like this glue. It is a little bit thicker. I did wipe with my finger as well, so that way it doesn't gush out the sides. I definitely didn't want that to be happening after I just spent so long to try to cover up any glue marks. I used a marker to make it look like it had been stitched a little bit. And then I was pretty much done, but I wanted to make sure that the pocket was free and clear while the glue was still a little bit wet. And it actually wasn't, so I'm glad that I checked. And on to the next step. So I used multiple kinds of paper for my signature. I did keep all of the pages blank. I didn't want to put any sort of tea-dyed paper, ledger paper, music paper, anything like that that would hinder creativity through this process. So even though I have vellum, craft paper, Tomoe River paper, mixed media paper, right there is some watercolor paper. So even though I have all these different medium papers and different weights, they are all blank pages. So I have the freedom to use them however I wish when I come to a prompt for a new day. So as I'm building it, I do want it to kind of have a layered look. I really love that kind of style. And you can see I also tear pages. I feel like it looks a little bit more personal. And any of the pages that I'm not actually putting in the signature, I will go ahead and put in my basket of things that I use for this project. Here I'm just trying to figure out what I'm going to use for the to put the signature in the book. For this project, because it is a process, I'm actually just attaching it with a ribbon, so that way I can slide pages in and out as necessary. And lastly, I decided to put a little bit of ephemera on the front. So this is a raised golden kind of label holder, and I just used my typewriter to write Advent 2019, and I used the craft glue again to just put a couple little dabs in there and put the typewritten words in there. I'm really quite happy with the end result from this project. I will put the link down below that if you are watching this in the near future, you can go ahead and join the challenge that Kasia puts on, and you can join anytime. So hopefully you get to see this during the month of December. And if not, definitely sign up for next year. I'm using the fabric glue, Fabri-Tac, to adhere this embellishment to the fabric. It did have two little sticky things. I think it was actually made for probably some paper craft, but I took that off and I just go ahead and line the edge with the Fabri-Tac, and I'll let this dry for quite some time before probably overnight, before I go ahead and try to use it again. So with that, my book is finished for the time being. It will be filled every day. There's a challenge, and you're not supposed to get too crazy with it, but it is a really beautiful challenge that I'm so excited to participate in again. So thanks for watching, and let me know what you think in the comments below.